And welcome, Julie. This is a YouTube reading, so it will be public. I want to make sure you know that
Yes.
and you're okay with that.
Yes.
And if at any point there's anything that I get into that you would rather I not talk about, just let me know.
Very good. I promise.
Okay. I will share my screen
Okay.
and let me just look at one thing. Let me grab this. Let's see, it's 27 to 56 to 50. Okay. I like to show the Mandala of Synthesis to start with. And for your birth date, I have July 23rd, 1972 at 4:17 p.m. in Pacific Daylight Time. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with this. So in the Mandala of Synthesis, we start with the 27th hexagram prenatally, which is in Taurus. By the time you were born, the sun had gone through the wheel to, why am I not seeing it? Wait a minute. 56. I wrote it wrong. To the 56th hexagram in Cancer, last degrees of Cancer,
Oh, okay. There it is.
or Leo, depending. And then by the time you were 3 months old, the sun had moved all the way to the 50. So the reason I'm showing you that is that every human being, when we trace from the prenatal 3 months to the postnatal 3 months astrologically, have half of the zodiac wheel using the sun imprinted into their energetic aura. At the same time, the earth goes around half the wheel. So by the time a baby is 3 months old, every energetic configuration astrologically between the sun and the earth has been imprinted into their aura. And the moon has moved around the wheel, 6 months, basically for 6 months. And the opposite of it around the wheel, which it does not exist, but the sun earth axis and the moon have gone halfway around the wheel. So a baby at 3 months of age has everything they need to realize their full potential. And so what I'm going to be reading is based on the Kabbalistic Tree of Life. And interestingly enough, in going back through the statistics that I did in 2000 on the human design system, I recently came across my factor analyses, and they show and validate that the tree of life and the four worlds are actually scientifically documented by the factor analysis of the centers. So I'm looking at the mental world, the physical world, and notice that they're the only two worlds that have the solar plexus. So I was asking you before we started and turned on the recording about a reaction you were having in one of the webinars, and you talked about being overwhelmed emotionally. So we'll look at that because that's something that would have been triggered in your emotional body. And the task in terms of consciousness is to learn how to transform those reactions that take us over into compassion and love and higher octave understanding of what it is that's triggering us. So we'll keep that in mind as we look at your designs. And notice that the spiritual links up to the physical through the root to the sacral center. And the emotional angelic world, which is talking about higher understanding of what is in the real world, has no solar plexus. You with
Mhm.
me so far?
Yes.
Okay. I put in the tree of life
Oh, that's a pretty
to
one.
use, mainly because as I'm talking, especially to someone like you, who ends up with some openness, it's important to understand the paths of intelligence in the tree of life. So I may get into that.
And
These
just to help you out, I am very familiar with the Tree of Life because I
ex,
study
ex
tarot. So,
yes, I am aware of that.
oh, good, right on.
Yes. And I will talk that language to you. I'll try to keep it so everybody who's listening can understand.
Yeah.
And those of you listening, like and subscribe. It helps us a lot. So, Julie, have you ever seen the Noble Energy maps?
I'm familiar with human design, but I've not understood your program.
Okay, so in human design, you would be considered a manifesting generator. The root connecting to the splenic center, connecting to the self center, and then connecting to the throat, along with the ajna connected through the 1762. Now, what I'm going to be talking about is the four worlds. And to give you a little bit of history, since you don't know noble energy maps, um, in 1999, Ra asked Marvin, my husband, and myself to validate the human design system. All we had was the human design chart and a 15 gate lunar design and a 15 gate solar design calculated based on the moon. So the human design calculation says 88 solar degrees before birth, roughly 3 months, correlating with the third trimester of pregnancy, a baby becomes impressionable. This is true. We know from brain scans that during the third trimester of pregnancy, if the pregnant woman plays music, the
Mm.
baby will remember it and respond to it in the first 3 months of their life. Whereas if she plays music in the first and second trimester, the baby will not respond if it's no longer played in the third trimester. Anything in the third trimester begins to be registered in the cortex. We know that from brain scans. The what I noticed immediately, and it's not that relevant for you, but I'm saying it because it may be relevant for other people. People who have the sacral center in the basic human design may lose it in other layers. You don't. You always keep your 3410.
Wow.
And that tells me, Julie, you march to your own drum. You're not regular. You're not someone who can be predicted simply. You have your own way of doing things, and you do not like to change that. And by the laugh, I assume I hit the nail on the head.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. In fact, I'm working on that right now.
Well, there's no reason for you to work on it. What you do need to work on, and we will get into it, is that in your, so what I did, what based on the science, was I knew that much of what Ross said did not hold true. Um, the type held true across all worlds. My book, The Triple Design Matrix, has the statistics for that. That when we did type across the matrices, it was a concept that held and that held statistically to be significant. So if somebody was one type in their mental world and then they change type, as you do in the lunar world, now we can't really look at the charts on this page and see fully what the sleeping matrix is. And I've done that purposely because in the multidimensional perspective, I'm looking also at the um, planets that imprinted your aura in
Okay.
each of the worlds. So I'm using these even though, for example, in your spiritual world, you have the 62. That's it. You would have in your sleeping design only one gate, the 62nd gate, which happens to be a portal to the mental waking world. And you have the um, 56, which is a portal to the emotional angelic world. So um, you're a manifesting generator who becomes a reflector in the sleep design, although in your spiritual component, which is more than just the sleeping design, you are a generator. So you remain a generator in every single world. And you're a generator through the 3410. And in the mental world, you're intuitive.
Mhm.
In the other worlds, you're not intuitive in a human design way, but you pick up energy from other people in your body, and you don't always know that you do.
Yeah.
So that's something, as we get into it, is going to be really important to think about in terms of how much the multidimensional perspective feeds your consciousness because you are emotionally open. So when you're feeling emotional, like you were a couple of weeks ago in the webinar, it's not you. I would guess that that was not your emotion.
I believe it because I was wondering why am I crying all of a sudden?
We were talking, if I'm recalling, it was 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and I believe I was talking about the difficulty people are having in balancing the four worlds, especially in consciousness, because of um, the June 11th full moon
Yeah.
um, was like bookended between two eclipses. And the kind of cosmic upheaval going on in the world is making many people emotional, especially people who cannot shift their mindset to take in information that is extremely critical in emotional clarity. And I'll explain. I want to look at your composite. Oh, oh. In your composite, so in my system, Julie, um, the mental world is the human design calculation. The lunar world is the calculation for the spiritual using the moon, 88 lunar degrees. What I did to figure out, because all Ra gave me was the dream design,
Hmm.
calculation, 88 lunar degrees for before birth, and a 15-gate matrix. I knew from being a clinician and a social scientist that, and a psychologist, that when we sleep, we now know that during REM sleep, not during deep sleep, but during REM sleep, there is crossover between the sleeping cortex and the waking cortex.
Fantastic.
So we have brain scans of that. So I began to work with the prenatal lunar and I labeled it spiritual and dream because it's specifically REM. And so even though you do not have any gates in the spiritual deep sleep matrix, you still have a sacral center in the spiritual world.
I've been told that I travel astrally not knowingly. Like I don't do it on purpose, but that I travel
Yes,
astrally when I sleep.
you clearly do. And
Nice to have science to back up that claim.
yeah, you do. So what I did was, as an astrologer, and I was already in 1999 a very seasoned and trained astrologer. And my mentor astrologer, Catherine de Jersey, um, I mean, she was so accurate, it was spooky. She told me in 1973 that I'd moved from Chicago. I looked at her and I said, Katie, you're crazy. I've unpacked my books after 12 years. Why would I move? I'm, I have a beautiful office on Michigan Avenue.
Yeah.
My practice was booked 6 months in advance. She said, Dear, when you sign your contract for the office, make sure you have a way to get out of your lease.
Oh wow.
I did. I went to California in 1976. As I hit the coast highway, I started crying and I said, This is home. A year later, I took my kids and moved,
Wow.
started my practice all over again. So I knew that if we were looking at the sleep design of a mammal, Ra called it the dream design, but it was the voice said, when we go to sleep, we become mammalian. We enter the mammalian matrix, which is a lunar matrix on its side, 15 gates. Ra thought it was the dream design. It's not. It's the sleep design. And I had twin kittens. So I wanted to find the sleep design of a mammal, not the dream, but the sleep. So I used the lunar minute, degrees, minutes, and seconds. So if we're using the degrees for the sleep, we needed also the lunar minutes. And so when I used the solar minutes, I got, and I used the lunar minutes and the lunar degrees, the solar minutes and the lunar minutes. I looked at the four charts I got and I went, holy shit, this explains it. Because I was looking at eight charts that correlated exactly with developmental times in early baby development.
Wow.
3 months before the cortex, a week before birth, the soul enters the fetus.
I feel myself getting excited. This is going to be really informative.
It's going to change how you think of things if you know the tree of life and I'll also recommend a book for you you may not have seen.
I'd love that.
The solar minute correlates to 2 days before birth, which is when the mother's hormones shift
Hmm.
and Braxton Hicks contractions come in. And then I use the lunar minute, which marks transition in labor. But
Wow.
what gets more interesting is when I looked at the four worlds postnatally using these calculations, I got an hour and a half after birth when the baby's breathing on its own, 2 days after birth when the milk comes down.
Yeah.
And so attachment happens. A week after birth, the soul enters the fetus. It's anchored, it's
Wow.
there, but it's not. That's why in Judaism, the bris is a week after birth.
Yeah.
In many societies, and I remember part of my background was as a cultural anthropologist. And in
Fascinating.
my dissertation, I used some of my cultural anthropologic as well as psychological. So I know that in many societies, they don't name a baby for a week.
Mm.
And of course, we have baptism, which early on was when you named the baby.
Wow.
And then 3 months after birth, the baby reaches. Do you have any children?
I don't have any children, but I'll tell you, I'm adopted and I only lived under the name Runcorn, which was my birth mother's last name. I've done the numerology on it. In fact, I'm planning on having a reading so I can have all of my names read. But I spent the first 6 weeks of my life under just the name Runcorn. I didn't have a first name.
Oh,
I went right to the orphanage after birth and spent the 6 weeks there while the lady who was overseeing my adoption, come to find out, and this was told to me through a QHHT reading, come to find out she was hesitating because she had made a mistake in another case and the baby was brought back and she was kind of gun shy, so she wanted
uh-huh.
to double check my parents and make sure that everything was, all the I's were dotted and the T's crossed and all that. And so this is absolutely fascinating because I can't even begin to imagine what my 15-year-old birth mother was feeling 2 days before my birth.
Have you met her?
No, no, I haven't, but I think she's soul family. Yeah,
That she what?
she's in my soul family, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that I agreed to give her the experience of giving up a child.
Yeah. So this is a scientific spiritual system. And recently I documented that the way the centers clump in factor analyses confirm the tree of life sequencing for self-actualization.
Wow.
So when I'm reading a chart like yours, we're looking at, okay, you're a manifesting generator in the mental waking world, but if we were reading it just as a human design chart, you would be told you can take action and blah, blah. You don't do that. You wait because you have to know that whatever action you're going to take for yourself is aligned with you. And if it's not aligned with you, either you're vulnerable to being pulled by somebody else and their energy, or you're not sure that the other person is going to be open to what you have to say to them. And because so much of you is living, well, I just noticed something really interesting because I was going to say is living wanting your spiritual core to be recognized. And, but what I just noticed is we get the 731, the seven, well, you have the seven everywhere, but the 31,
Yeah, my dominant vibration.
well, the 31 comes in postnatally at 2 days
Wow.
with your son. So you get really pissed off when people, how do I say this?
Well, don't be shy now. You can't
No,
hurt
I'm
my
just,
feelings.
I
So.
want to use the right, it's very, the energies are very specific. And you get the 12th gate in Venus. So I'm reading that solar minute, which is the emotional angelic design postnatally. So it's being expressed in the world, and it's the channel of leadership. But you're reluctant to say anything unless you know that it's going to be, and I don't know if it's understood or received. Because you,
I
if
was
you,
saying received in my head.
um, what, see, you lose it in the postnatal solar. So what I'm thinking is, I can tell you how you know it's your breathing. That the first sign you get that the person you're with is not receptive to consciousness is through your breathing getting tight.
Yeah, I was going to say I hold my breath.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's almost as though, this is so interesting. Chiron is in the 21, and then it is in the 51,
Hmm.
but it's always, so what, the 21 is black. Ah, it's always in Chiron in the 21. Why is that? It's in the 51. Something else has to be in the 21. 21. It's a 50. Why is it doing that? You lose it. Yeah, you lose it on the so you lose the Chiron in the 21 in all except the mental world layer.
Hmm.
So when you begin to think about leading, your leadership is spiritual leadership. It's not real world leadership. And you're always reluctant to say too much unless you know that the person you're with is receptive. Did I get that right?
Yeah, yeah, that's spot on. I even when I read tarot for people, I it's like my higher self says, no, don't say that right
Let me tell you, I had an experience early on when I don't think, no, I did have all the charts. Right after I had all the charts, one of my assistants at the time claimed to be a very good tarot reader. And she did a spread on me, and it was completely off.
now. Oh dear.
But I said to her, you know, her name was Jillian. She's no longer with us. Um, so I can use her name. And I said to her, you know, I think this reading is about me spiritually, but you don't have it for the world. So
Mm,
you're reading the spiritual world. So I think that it's important when we do a tarot reading that we identify which world we're reading in.
fantastic.
So I think that might be a hot tip for you.
That is. I'm like mm, the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up.
Um, because what I'm seeing in your chart, because you never get the emotional center activated, but what you get is the a very strong. Let's go back to this chart. See, you get no, it's not this chart. Oh, you may be impatient with yourself a lot.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Let me show you why.
Okay.
This, well, I was looking at your integrated, and I see that you have the
That was my
60
lowest score on the Four Worlds assessment, by the way.
is what?
The integration was my lowest score on the Four Worlds assessment.
I'm not surprised because here you have the 63 and you have the 53 but not the 42. The postnatal gets the 63. Notice prenatal you don't have it.
Mhm.
So in this moment of consciousness, this moment meaning any moment of awareness, you have to wait until it hooks into integration within you. So you have to be asking, remember, these always exist in us.
Mhm.
The way I think of it is as we're developing in the first 3 months of life, we're exposed to energies turning on and off. When they turn on, they are like an exclamation point or a bolding of an energy that's ordinarily flowing through us. We are a complete human being at the moment of birth. It's not that we are missing a solar plexus, for example.
Right.
We have every channel and every gate in every single world, but they're not emphasized within our consciousness.
Okay.
So it's like if you're reading a book and it's all regular font, and then you come to something that's highlighted, you go, oh, I should pay attention. So when you have your gut experience is always on, but it's always on through your 3410.
Hmm.
The 3410, I'm going to grab my Beyond Human Design book. Um, I've never
I'm
done this.
following along the numbers with my basic human design chart that I had done when I first was introduced to it. And the 3410, that's courage and exploration, right?
That's what?
Courage and exploration.
I have no idea about
Yeah.
that.
I'm sure that I had some
The 34, why is it not here? 3457, 34. 30. Oh, it's probably under 1034. Yeah, 10. You have in the mental world, you have the 10, 3457. Here it is. It's page 91. Um, hmm. So I won't read you do you have my Beyond Human Design book?
I don't yet.
Okay. I think it's also on Apple Books, but it's the key words for it: watchfulness, awakening, self-clarity, trust, exploration, self-responsiveness, energy, empowerment, intuitive knowing, sensitivity, and perfected form. You're highly sensitive to people and your environment. You know when to trust yourself and when to explore new possibilities, and you actually sense how you are perceived. Thus, you're at your best when you are clear about your role. Now, remember that line. Honor your knowing and be courageous in being visible. Go slow to align with your values. I'd recommend you get this book because in the different worlds, for example, the 3410, page 73. See, and in the book, if you can see it,
Yes, yes.
I also show the hexagrams for that channel.
Wow.
And I really encourage people to look at the hexagrams
I love that.
because
Yeah.
in the 1034, the 34 has the lower trigram of heaven, which is all yang,
Hmm.
and the upper trigram of thunder,
Oh, wow.
which is yang, yin, yin.
Oh, wow.
The gate 10 has lake, which is um, two yang lines and a yin line. And then the upper trigram is all yang. I was looking to see um, it's like flipped. But when you read the hexagrams and the yin and the yang, you begin to get a feel for the energy of the channel.
Okay.
And the reason it's so important in you, and let me read you what I say for the 1034.
Please.
Trust, exploration, self-responsiveness, energy, and empowerment are the key words.
Fantastic.
And then you know when to trust yourself and when to explore new possibilities. Go slow to align with your values. I say a lot more there. But the reason it's so important, oh, wait, I think I missed something here in my own book. 71, 73. No, it's in the mental world. You have it in the angelic world. You know when to trust yourself. It's the same key. Um, it's a little bit different in the mental world than in the physical world. Now, in the physical world, you don't have the 3410 alone. But in the other worlds, the 3410 does not connect to the 57 or to the 20. So, what I'm recognizing in you, you pick up energy all the time. In the mental waking, in the lunar world, in the spiritual world, you are driven to be a help agent when you know what you know and
Yeah.
to lead people to consciousness. But if the person isn't receptive, you sense it.
Hmm.
And you don't want to say anything that would be damaging or disempowering to them.
Hmm.
And the way you know if they're receptive is through your breathing.
Yeah.
Because Chiron in the 21 is saying to you, you can be of help, but you can also shock this person.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that in readings a lot. Like
Um,
my higher self says, just don't say that right now.
yeah, and that's going to be your where you would read it is in that 63, which is a format energy between the root and the sacral center. The 63 is your earth, and the 3 is also your earth.
Oh, wow.
So what's happening is your breathing's shifting because your inner knowing says this person is not available to understand at a higher level.
Mhm.
So you may need to bring it down to a more granular level for that person. And as a leader, pick words that will lead them to an understanding and always check if they can hear.
Yeah, it's just absolutely amazing that you say that because it's usually at that point in the reading where I shift into question mode, where I start asking them,
Now,
you know,
are you aware of clean language questions?
I'm familiar with the term, but I may understand it differently than you mean it. So please.
It's a very specific language. I'm going to wait, I think I put it, if I'm remembering correctly. I will send it to you when I send you I lost you for a second. When I send you the recording, I'll send you the clean language questions when I was teaching it to the Hypnosis Society.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
what I do, Julie, and um, I also have all of your astrology here. Um, are you aware of astrology? Do you know astrology?
I'm learning more and more about it. I know a lot of the surface stuff, but this portion in the middle and how things connect is where I'm weak.
I'm looking. I want to show. I want to. I have too much to say in too little time. The clean language was developed by a man named David Grove and his wife, Kai Davies Lynn. Kai lives in London. She still teaches. She's a good teacher. I studied with her. I studied extensively on clean language. And what I have come to in the four world work is that each world has its specific kind of communication. And the tree of life tells us that. So in your case, you can use regular language if a person is receptive. But on the spiritual level, what I have found working, especially with couples, is that you need to use language that has no visual, auditory, or kinesthetic cues.
Oh, wow.
Because if you ask a question, what are you feeling? And the
Hmm.
person is not a feeling type
Yeah.
or is not emotional,
Or if I
like
start
I'm
speaking
not an
metaphors.
emotional being.
Yeah.
I don't, when I did a reading at one point that Zeno was going to judge for whether to approve me. It was way after I was working with Ra. And Ra said, I don't want you to be part of human design. Don't get at certain, And I took one of Ra's readings because my best friend had the birth date of someone he did a reading for, a client of mine. And so I memorized the reading and the way he did it. And I submitted that. And Zeno's comment to me was, it didn't ring true when you said that emotions are in a cycle. And I said, it wouldn't ring true, Zeno, because I've never experienced that. And this is what I'm told, that the solar plexus operates in a cycle and that your emotions are in a cycle. And I said, I don't know what that is. And she, she said, well, what about, in your menstrual cycle? And I said, it doesn't affect my mood.
Wow.
I'm not emotional. I don't react to things emotionally. It's not that I don't feel,
Oh, no. No.
but
Yeah.
it doesn't go in a cycle.
Hmm.
So began to realize that for somebody like me, you have to use a language that doesn't lead the witness, so to speak. That it needs to be, and when emotional, what kinds of emotional are those emotions? Are
Hmm.
they inside of you or outside of you? And where did they come from? Those are clean questions.
Yeah.
And so, given that you, on in terms of your work, which is spiritual work,
Hmm.
you cannot use mental world questions.
Wow. It explains why I struggle when I know that I should be asking the client questions.
The quickest question to ever stop an argument is to turn to the other person and say, so, given all of this, what would you like to have happen?
Mm.
It stops it dead cold. So, clean questions are really important in your astrology. Uh, and we're going to have to stop because this is a YouTube video.
I
Um,
understand. Yeah.
your sun and south node are conjunct in the eighth house, Cancer and Leo. Now, the Cancerian, the 26 degrees of Cancer would be probably Taurus. I'm not looking at my dwads. Well, let's see how it rated you. This is the dwads. Now, dwads happen to be the undercurrent for an astrology degree. So, for example, each house has 30 degrees, and each 30 degrees is broken into 360 degrees of 12 signs. So each sign has 2.5 degrees. So your sun is very, very Leo.
Uh-huh.
And that tells us that you're, Sam, down. Sam, that you're interest and commitment to delve into the psychic spiritual realm. And given that you were adopted, my intuition is telling me that it's coming from your desire to understand on a soul level who you are and what values are so important to you that you would have taken this path in this life. That is not the easiest path to take.
Yeah, that rings true. That resonates deeply.
What I can tell you is that the full moon of June 11th and the Pluto now transiting is going to be really significant for you.
I've just had a big breakthrough, a really big breakthrough about a limiting belief that is like a core limiting belief. And I'm working on speaking truth to that and changing it to a belief that serves me rather than limits me.
So you're getting ready to break out with some work that you've been doing and finally feel permission to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
That rings very true. In fact, my statement about it is my ability to receive is directly linked to my willingness to surrender the illusion of control.
Um, Wait a minute. Say it again.
My ability to receive is directly linked to my willingness to surrender the illusion of control. I default to trying to control things when I feel
Well, you
comfortable
see,
or vulnerable
look
or
at the
afraid.
worlds, Julie. Look at the worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Your Where your statement is saying you're surrendering to the spiritual component of who you are rather than to the manifesting generator component that
Mm-hmm.
is fleetingly of the world.
Yeah. And that
Because
spiritually feels very foreign to me. It feels very
it is foreign to
like a
you.
coat that doesn't fit right.
Before we stop, because I don't want to
Yes,
run
no, I
over,
understand the time constraints
but
completely.
I do want to do more with you. But your ascendant, the transiting ascendant, hit your Uranus. You are poised to be in front of the public, to be speaking, to be doing more. It will be lucrative for you if you design it properly. And the transiting midheaven is hitting your, coming up to your natal Pluto. So you are destined to do something important. The question is, are you on target for
I
what
think I
it
finally,
is?
yeah, I think I finally am. I'm in the process, just like the infant process of designing an abstract tarot deck that these tarot readers who are trapped in this, the tarot is starting to stagnate for them. And I feel like there's a lot of them out there that need to transition to not needing the cards anymore. And
Hmm.
I'm designing a transitional deck so they can move on to intuitive readings and just be the psychic being that they are without all the fiddly diddly on the desk, you know?
I think that's really one. I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie, for doing a public reading with me. And remain here when I shut the recording. And for those watching, log into Noble Energy Wellness. And we have a self-paced program called Step Over the Threshold that takes you through the four worlds.
Fantastic. I'm loving the program.
And we have a four-world assessment that you can take. We're in the process of putting it online, so it will be available and uh, you'll be able to see how you score in the different worlds. So that said, thank you, Julie. Stay on the line.